Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Oh, boy, it's getting fun. We're just a week away from Texans about to start the next game. I'm going to just throw it like that, like a week away from them, go a week away from starting the season. So 2 weeks away. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast for our live Texans-Lions postgame show, part of the National Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. Always love having FanDuel aboard, and joining me to break this down, Battle Red blog contributor Clayton Anderson. But if you live YouTube viewers can join us too, hit us with questions and comments as we move along. Great to have you, Clayton. Lots to talk about. I thought it was going to be sort of like, what are we going to talk about? No starters, none of that. But boy, there were some storylines going on in this one, man.
No, absolutely. Good to be back again, Robert. So we know most of the real work was done in the last, joint practice between the Texans and the Lions. So I didn't go into it expecting too much, but hey, I was shocked. A blowout win is a blowout win. I'll take it. 26-7, beautiful score. We were going to talk about a lot more of the details soon, but yeah, it was much more exciting than what I thought going into it.
Texans' first defensive possession, Tommy Togiai gets a third down sack. And Clayton, he's been great when he's gotten opportunities over the last year. But how does he make the roster over Mario Edwards, Sheldon Rankins, Tim Settle, and Foley Fatukasi? Do they keep 5 tackles?
That's a tough one. And we had this conversation on our stream on H-Town Rundown podcast. He has been a guy who was shown as a diamond in the rough. Heard a lot about him, made some plays, and we said that it'll be a lot harder to stash a guy like him, on the practice squad. I just don't think you do. There's a reason why I'm sitting here in this chair. I can't answer that question. As much as I would like to have him there are a bunch of established vets that are already present. So unless there's a surprise cut somewhere that lets him in, I just can't see it.
I don't know if he's good enough where Caserio can get something for him.
Yeah.
As opposed to, if you outright release him, somebody's got to wait for a waiver claim. They got to be behind the waiver claim. If a team that was good maybe wanted him, bring him in. I don't know if he could get something for him, but that's something to consider. Also, we go to the Texans' first possession. Mertz hits Xavier Hutchinson for 23 yards. And this was interesting. Analyst John Harris said Hutch is number 3 at wide receiver. And yeah, you look at who played first and where they are. I mean, it looks like that's the case. Do you agree? Is he starting over Christian Kirk or Jaden Higgins? It looks like Higgins, I guess, right?
That's tough. And that's another name. Funny. Higgins has come up in our stream also as being a guy who we haven't heard enough about during the preseason or out of camp. We've heard more about Noel than him, but no, to the Xavier Hutchinson point, I mean, to me, 3 is a bit high. Look, I'd be shocked, going into the season. I was much more of a Hutch guy, let's say, over like a Mechie, right? So, of course, I thought he'd make the roster. But to say he's 3, you got to go Nico. Again, Kirk is up in there. I assumed Higgins would be probably 3rd slotted in.
He's sort of the surprise Iowa State receiver that is the guy. I mean, you thought, especially early in camp, it looked like Noel was playing really well. And then, Higgins was the leader going into it, and he looks like he might have just stolen it. That'll be a fun little point as we go into that first game, like who are they going to list at starter for the wide receivers?
No, I was going to say maybe Hutchinson is going to be one of those guys that benefits mightily from this shift in offensive philosophy from Slowick to Nick Haley. That's my thought. If he's doing that well, like, it's not that Hutchinson was like a scrub before this time. It's just that besides the occasional broken down CJ Stroud play, there wasn't much really to what he did. No disrespect. So if he is one of the guys who's benefiting from Nick Haley, then yeah, that's exciting for the Texans. You found a 3rd receiver to load up the room even more.
Yeah, I sort of assume that, he was struggling a little bit just to get open. He doesn't have the explosion that you might look for of a guy that you're going to put at starter. But, I guess maybe he's getting a little bit more open here this time in camp and preseason. It's a very interesting little question mark starting the season. Then there's another question mark. Tight end Irv Smith Jr. is in a fight with Harrison Bryant for the third tight end spot, but Irv jumps on a 4th and 1.
Yep.
That's not good for his chances. Since Caserio targeted Bryant with the Mechie trade, I thought it would be an uphill battle for Irv to make the team. Clayton, how do you see it?
No, I echo that sentiment. Yeah, I saw it too. The penalties. We can't have that. We had enough of that the past 2 years under D'Amico Ryan. So especially when you're effectively fighting for your job, anything like that is not good film. It's not good tape. It's not good situational football. And Harris Bryant, he made a reception or two in the game. He was the guy who was traded for Mechie. So yeah, I think not to make it just about the penalty, but contextually speaking, yeah, you could definitely see if Harris had made it over Irv, it's not like earth-shattering news.
Irv's more of a blocking tight end than Bryant, so it just kind of depends on which way they're going. I assume just Luke Lachey, they're going to try to stash him on the practice squad.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go to the Texans now getting a 53-yard field goal, but what caught everybody's eye, Clayton, is this low-key roster addition. They brought in long snapper Caleb Ferguson, a veteran, because Austin Brinkman's dealing with an oblique injury. But we better sit down and get at our altar and start praying for Brinkman, because Ferguson stinks. He screwed up 3 Fairbairn snaps. 2 of them cost a field goal and an extra point. That's 4 points on the board, Clayton. It was ugly. Yeah, that's about it.
I looked up the contract for John Weeks to see what he got from the 49ers. We couldn't have paid him that, Listen, I'm not his agent, but we talked about that. Allegedly, there was like the reason why he was out of here, unless I'm wrong, is like he wanted a raise or something like that. Listen, I'm ignorant. I don't know. But all I know is these are the things that we take for granted when you have a John Weeks, and you notice it when he's not here. So, yeah.
He's late 30s though. Eventually you would have had to gotten a replacement for him.
Yeah,
maybe you could have kept him around and just brought in competition and to see if somebody like that, like a Brinkman, could have done it.
Just to bring the young guys along, like at least for one more season, just to make sure these things will happen. Because again, we take these things for granted, because football, I mean, it's a layered sport. It's all 3 phases. And it definitely, how many famous games or infamous games there have been. Like, I think about the Tony Romo play clip that's always played. Like, procedural things matter in the game of football. Those can flip games, more so than what you think. So you would just hate that in a season like this, it comes down to a long snapping issue. Like that cannot happen. Not right now. That cannot happen.
I see a few of you out there live. Want to hear from you. Get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let's move to the Lions' next drive, where we finally saw Christian Harris healthy for the first time since last season. Of course, he played in the first drive, I should say. And I guess if they keep 6 linebackers, Azeez, Toa, Harris, EJ Speed, Jake Hansen, and maybe Jamal Hill. I can't imagine, Clayton, anybody else in the conversation. They keep 6, or is Hansen or Hill on the bubble? How do you see that?
That's a good question. I definitely think they're probably going to have some guys on the bubble here. I don't think you go 6 this time. I think you have 2 strong of your tops already, and I think you have so many other needs around the roster, right, that you might need to squeeze somewhere. Squeeze probably one of the back end guys. It's not going to be Harris, obviously. You don't need me to say that, but definitely think a couple of the bubble guys you just mentioned, between those 2, I think they should be careful, only because of a roster crunch in other places. Not because D'Amico doesn't necessarily want them, but we got to trim the fat from somewhere.
Yeah, just a quick comment from Larry Etienne, who's aboard. Thanks for joining us, Larry. Said, yeah, we definitely need a long snapper, but Brinkman should be back. I mean, they're saying that. I just worry because, you just never know with injuries, and, we don't know much about how serious the injury is, but they're saying it's a probable that he's back for the first game. He's got 2 weeks to get his oblique right. So we'll see what happens with that. D'Angelo Ross gets beat for a 33-yard touchdown. And speaking of hoping and praying, Clayton, I'm hoping and praying the last we see of Ross. He's fighting with Miles Bryant, maybe Damon Arnett for the fourth cornerback. I assume, I don't know if they keep more than 4. Obviously, Jalen, the draft pick, he's definitely the third guy. So it's this battle for fourth, and if they keep a fit, I don't know, Tremont Smith, maybe he's in the mix because of special teams. I don't know.
No, I agree. We talked about that too. No, versatility wins the day here. Tremont Smith, he definitely earned some points with that little bit of a run back that he had. I'm tired of seeing corners get cooked, especially in the third and final preseason game where all eyes are on you. And you know for a fact that it's a bunch of like bottom of the roster guys fighting for a spot, like we discussed, Irv and Harrison, all these guys, bubble guys. You cannot get cooked, and not only get cooked by a guy named Tesla, but then you allow him to bust out the worm, a nice worm, by the way. That was great for him. So, yeah, I just think that's a horrible look. Look, I hope the best for him, right? There are 32 teams. Somebody might want him, but I think this might be the end of the road for him. You got a bunch of young dogs coming up who want that spot. And I just think you want more solidification at that position. So can't have that.
One thing that we found out is D'Amico loved MJ Stewart as a locker room guy. Maybe he loves that from D'Angelo Ross, but I just don't think it's good enough with the guys that they've got in here. Yeah. I got a big picture question before we move on, Clayton, and we get back to the game.
Sure.
I checked with our friends at FanDuel since we're just 2 weeks away from the first game, and it's plus 105, just about even odds to take the Texans win total over 9.5 wins. It's minus 125 to take under 9.5 wins. How many wins do you think the Texans get, Clayton? Where would you put your money? They've got the 18th toughest schedule in the NFL.
Oh, shoot, I'll take that. You made it sound even better. So I'd already predicted 12-5, and I don't think that's being a homer. I literally think that 12-5 is on the board. I probably won't go any further than that, but I definitely see them improving over 10-7. I think that number is much too low for me. So, that's easy money. Easy.
Yeah, I think that sounds like they should do that. I feel like everybody's underestimating because this whole offensive line thing that it feels like we've all shot holes in that deal. And so we'll see. But, it's going to take an injury to somebody like Stroud or something like that for them to go under 9.5 in this division. I mean, some weird things are going to happen because this defense is legit, unless there's just, and I never put it past because this is the NFL, unless there's just this Astro-like injury thing. We've seen like 4,000 injuries with the Astros. I hope we don't have one of those Texans years, but I mean, that's the only thing that I think stops him is just bad luck.
No, I agree. And look, listen, as a guy who covers the Astros, I don't want to hear Texans and injuries. I don't. I'm very sensitive. Look, I'm kind of happy that the no starters played. Well, I mean, some did sprinkles like Higgins, Harrison, all those guys, but yeah, for the most part, we just anything injury related, just let's keep it with the Astros. Let the Texans start out the season healthy. Do some stretches, do whatever you got to do. We need you for at least 15 games, and more.
I'm almost afraid to look at social media because it's like, did one of the Astros get struck by lightning? Did he fall into a manhole? I mean, everything has happened to this team this year. It sucks. But before we go to Dameon Pierce analysis, because that's another storyline we got to look at. First look in the preseason for him. Just a quick reminder, if you're not watching live, still, we want to get you in the comments. We want to hear from you. I will definitely look through all of those and look for our YouTube shorts. If you need that quick break at work, make a note that we're going live 9 p.m. on Texans game days for afternoon games. So if you're hanging with friends or at the afternoon games, you can get in the live chat that night. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube with notifications so you get those updates on the live shows and all of our content. Of course, you'll also want to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. All right, Clayton, Dameon Pierce was done after 1 quarter, 7 carries, 17 yards. Did he look any better in Caley's system? Less of that zone scheme that we saw last year.
He averaged 2.4 yards a carry, right?
No, that's not better.
No, it's not. I just want to put that in. Listen, we all appreciate Dameon Pierce for his contributions to the team since being drafted here at 2022, right? During the dark ages. We love his long monster runs. We especially like the angry run, that he had against Jacksonville where he almost scored. Those were fun times, right? But the reality is, and we talked about this also, with him, every time it's time for Damian to step up and prove why he should be on this team, he's either hurt or he's underperforming or he can't find a hole somewhere. And it's not to be mean, it's not to be rude. You have a bunch of young guys like Woody Marks, Nick Chubb now. He's not young, but he's new to the team now. A bunch of guys who just look better in the system, more decisive, who look like they just fit better. And Dameon Pierce right now, he just looks like a redundancy who, while he's not a net negative, it's been too many times like him getting his job taken by Devin Singletary and being relegated to kick returner to where it just leaves you with this not wanting to go through this headache, right? Like I think that's where the Texans are. You're trying to trim as much fat and move forward as much as you can with guys. And sometimes that just means moving off of guys that just aren't in that same time frame. It's all right. Like I wish the best for Damian. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get some looks. Like we can get off a bench if we get Harrison Bryant. Like somebody wants Dameon Pierce, but we don't have to do that. And I wouldn't want Dameon Pierce, as much as he's given to this team, to just rot away on the bench because I just don't see him fitting better than like Woody Marks look great, like pass catching, running, like in between the tackles, he look good. So I just don't see the path for Dameon Pierce right now. I just don't.
There's another guy that I'm going to bring up in a second that I almost feel like is guaranteed a spot from somebody like Pierce that just can't seem to get it going. And this guy, I feel like he's going to have it locked in. Now, you talked about Woody Marks. We're getting to him in just a second because next possession, big kick return from Tremont Smith in the next possession. Mertz hits some short passes to Harrison Bryant, Jaden Higgins, and then the aforementioned Woody Marks. And then Woody with a 9-yard touchdown run made a guy miss in the backfield. He had a PFF grade in receiving 77.9, blocking, pass blocking, 81. Really good stuff from him in both of those and the running touchdown. Mm-hmm. And really, Clayton, he's my second string behind Chubb at this point. Mm-hmm. If Joe Mixon is not going to be ready for game one, and not sure if this is too grand a statement. What do you think of this? Could Woody Marks be the best all-around running back since Arian Foster, combo of run, pass blocker, and receiver?
Yeah, that's pretty. I got to make sure no one's at my door. That's big. Man, and I don't want to give you an overly sentimental answer because again, it's easy to lean on sentiment and memory with Arian. I mean, he is the greatest running back in franchise history, a top running back at his time in the entire league at the time.
I'm not saying he's Arian Foster. I'm just saying all-around back. Have the Texans have many good all-around backs in their history? I mean, Arian Foster sticks out as like the guy. I don't know. We've had guys that can run really good. We've had guys that can run and block, but we haven't had all three, the three-headed monster of a running back.
No, agreed. Foster aside, absolutely. You can definitely see the tools that Woody has. Even with, running with defenders on his back, like he's deceptively strong in his legs. Again, like I said, making guys miss, agile, quick, catches the ball, high points it, does everything well. So he definitely has the tools, I would say, of an Arian Foster, right? Like, so I definitely like that. And look, who knows? We absolutely don't know. But like you said, easily he's top 2 running back right now in the room. You can basically call it RB3. Or maybe even RB2 if you were to believe some of the reports out of camp about Chubb and his progress or lack thereof. So, there could be a path for Woody to really take a step forward, even in his rookie season.
Yeah, Chubb's safe because he didn't play in this game. So, if you didn't play, you're probably a starter in week one, unless Joe Mixon is able to play in week one. So we'll see about that. But just a reminder, we talked to one of our Bleav colleagues. He covers USC. This is what he said about Woody Marks on our show a few months ago. What will Marks bring to the Texans? Nora, I know you really like him, right?
Love Woody Marks. Thought he was the steal of the Texans draft. Can't believe he went as low as he did in the 4th round. I thought he was a day 2 pick for sure. And I was surprised that he was the 10th running back off the board in this draft. I know it was a good draft for running backs, but after the top 4, I thought that it was a free-for-all for who that fifth running back could be, and it was basically personal preference. I thought Woody Marks could have been easily the fifth running back off the board. He is just an all-around solid back. Like, he's not going to necessarily have that top-end athleticism, so he's not going to run away from guys necessarily down the field and break away those huge runs, but he's a guy who's just going to do everything you need to do out of an NFL running back. Well, a great pass catcher, a guy who caught a pass in every game of his college career except for the final one. 56 straight games, which was the active longest streak in the nation before it stopped when he got hurt against Notre Dame. So he made a catch in every game of his career.
Great stuff there from our friend over at Bleav in USC. And just that's something that, you know, you gotta love about him is all the stuff that he can do. That's a way to make yourself invaluable in the NFL. Steal of the draft, Nara Wayne called it. Steal of the draft.
That's a beautiful thing, right? The fact that it's the Texans and steal of the draft multiple times. Credit to Nick Caserio for finding these guys consistently. Like, just the way we're building this roster up, it's a great thing. Hearing that got me hype. You know, like hearing that is like, you know what? Maybe Woody might be that guy. Like, it's just great. Like, when Bill O'Brien was here, versatility used to be a naughty word when he was here. Whenever he would throw it out there for any random guy, well, versatile, you can do a lot. But now when we say it, it holds weight because now you see the fruit of that. You got these guys who are not just okay in multiple areas. No, they're effective and productive in multiple areas. And like you said, Rob, that's how you stick in the league. That is how you make yourself uncuttable. That is what you do to stay on a roster. You maximize your opportunities. And I just like the fact that Woody Marks exemplifies what that means in like the modern running back hybrid.
Yeah, you said Caserio's finding guys, but hey, let's face it. Before D'Amico got here, it was a rough draft. You know, they've had some big failures. In this offseason, you've had to practically give away Kenyon Green. You're lucky to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson out of that, but he was somebody that literally had almost no value. John Mechie, not much value, third-string tight end, a guy that might have gotten cut. That was your second-round pick that year. Don't forget, fourth-round pick that year, Dameon Pierce, who we just talked about, the struggles he had. Christian Harris has got to show more than one good season to get excited about him in the third round. Yeah, they hit on Derek Stingley, but that's a high pick. You better hit on those. And yeah, Jalen Petre's looked pretty good. He's just got to be able to stay on the field. That was in the second round as well. But that and it feels like D'Amico's impact on the draft is a big deal. You know, if you look at the guys that he's made work, like he's made some of these guys that haven't worked with other guys, you know, work. And then don't forget, Juice Scruggs, not a starter anymore, second round pick. Jared Patterson, you know, he's a 6th round pick. So, you know, if you got a good backup out of a 6th round pick, which Patterson's a good backup, that's great. But, you know, it's been hit and miss with Caserio. The deal is, Clayton, in the draft, you've got to figure out a way to make up for the times that you miss stuff. So, you know, sometimes being 50-50 in a draft isn't bad. You just can't screw up the big ones, though. You can't screw up the high picks.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that. So I'm glad that, you know, and look, again, I hope the best for Kenyon Green for whatever that's worth, but we definitely washed the bitter taste of Kenyon Green out of our mouths, you know, really quickly, didn't we? Excuse me, like you said, you don't have to be batting 1,000 as a GM. You just can't mess up on the biggest moments. And you also can't be afraid to admit mistakes either. And I think Caserio is really good at that to a fault sometimes, where he'll pay dudes, he'll pay them contracts, he'll trade, you know, low-end draft picks, of course, but, you know, he'll trade assets. And, you know, we're quick to move off of people if they don't work out, which is very Patriots-like. So, you have to do that. You've got to get off those guys. And it's a mistake that the GMs that aren't good, the franchises that aren't good, it's one that they can do a lot. They can make that mistake a lot. And more Texans in this game. We're not going to hit too much more of the game, but the ensuing kickoff after the Marks TD, nice tackle by British Brooks. And I want to bring this guy up because I love Brooks in special teams coverage, and that's going to matter when you look at roster cuts. I don't know if that helps him enough. And Brooks would get more of a shot as a fullback
but Jakob Johnson's been getting all the reps with the ones, so he never really had a shot at fullback. But I guess I just would hate losing Brooks. You put him on the practice squad, Clayton, and he's got juice. I mean, there's something about him that just gets me excited when he gets the ball, when he makes these hits on special teams. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but he's a guy that's just real underrated to me.
Sure. No, and I think he's one of those, along with Brevin Jordan last year. I think he was a sneaky underrated loss when we lost him last season. I think that was his window. Not to say that he can't be effective now, but like you said, the roster has so much more impactful guys there at every position and depth. It's going to be a much harder fight for him to make the team. So again, we don't know until Tuesday, right? We don't know who surprise cutting where, what. And look, if there's a way that we can stash him somewhere, great. I would like to have British Brooks. I would. Big bruiser body. Again, he had a shot last season. I would just hate to not see that come to fruition in some kind of way on the field.
The plan for us is to go live Tuesday after the Texans cut. So we'll talk about that stuff. Tom Chavaria, he's going to be with me for that one. So look for a live Tuesday night show, probably around 9:30 roughly. So keep an eye out for that. So there was a Texans defensive stop. After that, Graham Mertz leads another good drive. He had several of those. And maybe we need to talk about him, Clayton. He looked pretty smooth, real comeback from what he did in his first chance, and some good scrambles, big third down passes. And he finishes the drive with a nice touchdown pass on a fade route, which is like one of the hardest routes in the NFL, to Quintez Cephas, and give him credit too. Nice catch by him.
Graham Mertz had a QBR rating of 125.3. He was very nice. Preseason matters for those who don't think they do. For those who do not think that reps count, they count. You can lose a job and you can gain a job in preseason. And Graham Mertz, definitely, he was the butt of the joke after the first appearance of him. Looked very Nathan Peterman-ish first time out. But major improvements, major kudos to him. He ran the offense well. He was decisive, getting the ball down the field, a lot of intermediate stuff. That's where games that won lost, intermediate. Good fade ball. Like you said, really, I like the fact that he went back to the fade ball after missing the first time. Big runs, like you said. And just, showing a little bit of spunk and personality too with the, the emotes going on, which is good. That's good for team morale. So, and look, and we joked about it on stream. We said, is he QB too? Maybe not, but
Nah.
Right.
Nah, because look, Davis Mills started. Davis Mills has looked great through camp. And
Sure.
and really the battle is it Slovis or is it Graham Mertz on the practice squad? And right now was it sort of a toss up, and I assume it might be Mertz because he was the draft choice and he looked good today.
No, he definitely did. And you got to reward him somewhere, right? So he looked really good. Like I said, I just like the fact that he added those dimensions to the offense. Even as a depth guy, it just looked good. Operation looked nice.
Yeah, another Texan highlight in the second half, Jalen Mills interception. Well, we're not going to hit too many of the highlights in the second half, but we did have the Jalen Mills interception. Terrible throw by Hendon Hooker leads to a Slovis to Daniel Jackson TD. Not much that I want to talk about, but I will give you maybe the biggest highlight for me of the second half was Dalton Schultz's sideline quote when he said, quote, "I want to run block," with the emphasis on want. Clayton, that's something, if you're a Texans fan, look, he's getting excited about run blocking, guys.
Yeah, that's been the word on the street, right? That Dalton Schultz is kind of finesse. He's a route runner. He doesn't want to block. Listen, I'm glad he's getting out ahead of that. I'm glad that he's leaning into it and he's taking ownership of that. No, Dalton Schultz has been a guy who has seemed like he's turned a corner. Not to say that he's been a bubble or a bad player, but last season was not his best. It really wasn't. So I just like that from him. He's one of the team leaders. He's one of the better vets. So definitely that's infectious in the locker room. So if he's talking that way, then definitely that's going to spread around the room. So I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. He was throwing major compliments on Nick Caley. It feels like all of these guys just love the difference, the night and day. It's like a breath of fresh air with Nick Caley. Everything that we would have hoped for, we're hearing from the Texans players. We're seeing on the field. Let's see if that translates in a couple of weeks, but this is fine. Another guy that I just look at, because we've talked about Woody Marks and Dameon Pierce, but here's something I'm going to just flat out say. Dario Ogunbowale is guaranteed a roster spot. And Clayton, I'm going to tell you why. He's a lock because, and this is like a little secret, everybody, he's a David Mulugheta client. And Mulugheta only reps 3 other Texans, but maybe you've heard of him. Derek Stingley got that nice little extension. Yeah. The Texans might have gotten a little bargain with him. Yeah. Kalen Bullock, guess what? He's going to have an extension a little bit, down the road. And of course, who's the other guy? Clayton, is it CJ somebody? CJ like Stroud.
Something like that. Yeah, I heard about the guy. He's pretty decent, I guess. Yeah, I mean, listen, David Mulugheta, man, he's definitely the most powerful. I think that's what I've been hearing, the most powerful agent right now in NFL. Of course, you got the whole Micah Parsons situation going on. So, and look, we're not trying to say that, the Texans need to abide by David Mulugheta. No, but you do understand that this is a part of the game within the game, within the game, within the game, right? So theoretically speaking. So, I mean, okay, look, if you produce, you earn your money. That's as simple as it goes, right? Like, and the team should be willing to pay whatever you've earned, right? And you don't want to end up like the Cowboys and who just refuse to pay people when you should. Then it gets more expensive stuff, but we won't go there. But yeah,
I need to work on my Ogunbowale pronunciation or my It's for some reason those two names together are just hard for me to say. But I'm not like the biggest fan of him because I thought his pass blocking last year was not good, right. And I didn't feel like that was just totally on the terrible coaching staff. But they love him with the Texans, and there must be stuff that he does that we don't see. And he doesn't look too bad when he's in the backfield running the football. So, just something to throw out there for you guys. Now, 2 weeks from tomorrow, as we said, the Texans open on the road against the Rams. Our friends at FanDuel put the Texans as a 2.5-point underdog going to LA. Now, here's the deal, Clayton. Do you think they can cover, or is Nick Caley going to be outsmarted by his old staff? They know all of his moves at this point, but he might know their moves. So I don't know who wins that chess match.
So the key for me, I'll answer the question first. I do think the Texans cover. I do. Number 2.
So you think they win, basically, unless you think it's going to be like super close.
Yeah, no, I think Texans win. I got them going 4-0 to start the month off. So, I will stand on that. So, no, I think the key, unless they're being very coy, I think the key is you have an injured Matt Stafford who looks like he's limping into the regular season. I think that's the biggest thing. Again, unless they're playing possum, and I hope the best for Matthew Stafford's body. Of course, things are big. There are things that are bigger than football. But I mean, you couldn't have picked a probably worse defense to be trying to rehab a back or whatever the injury is than this Texas front with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson and Derek Stingley and all those guys. I just think that's the biggest thing. And the more mobile Matt Stafford is, I mean, the more these guys are going to go hunt. So, I got the Texans winning even before the Matt Stafford injury news. But, yeah, absolutely. Put your money down. I got the Texans covered and then some.
Yeah, what do you guys think out there? What do you guys think that are watching us? Do you think the Texans cover? Do you like Caley against his old team? What's going to happen there? Would love to hear from you guys. Just big picture. Didn't talk a ton about the second half. I didn't see much to talk about with that. Clayton, what I will say is, and I'm going to find some wood to knock on as, I don't want to hit my computer, but find some wood to knock on. This thing right here, I guess I'll hit my head. But, they got through with a really good you couldn't have asked for a better training camp in preseason. The only major injury that we saw was Brevin Jordan. So injury-wise, they're pretty good. Joe Mixon, to be determined. Mm-hmm. But, his is not a season ender from everything that they've indicated. I don't put anything past anybody injury-wise these days. But for the most part, injury-free. And what did you want to see? You wanted to see an offensive line that looked like a totally different offensive line than we saw last year. We saw that. We saw the rookies looking really good, and the defense is as advertised. They look like they're going to be dominant, Clayton. I mean, you really have to go. This is a 10 out of 10 preseason for the Texans.
No, absolutely. I echo that sentiment 100%. You got off pretty easy, just off injuries alone, right? Because it happens, right? It always sucks. There's that one or two major injury before the season starts. And look, yes, we have guys out. Yes, CJ Gardner-Johnson is nursing a knee, right? But it's not season ending. Good. Christian Harris, he's back. Dameon Pierce, what that's worth, he's back. Cam Robinson, even he made his appearance. Now he's been running with the twos. We'll see what happens with that, but even he's come back. And yeah, Joe Mixon, I mean, he's on track to being back at some point, but you have a team that is well built enough and deep enough at his position that you can keep him out theoretically for the first month, and it's okay. And he can come back to be that just multifaceted, multidimensional home run hitter. Like you said, I think you saw everything you want to see, and then some. You got some good work in against quality teams, enjoying practices during the preseason. You worked out a lot of kinks, but that's going to continue to happen. It's a brand new offense. But as far as health, as far as preseason production, as far as games, as far as progress and solidifying spots, you couldn't have asked for a better preseason going to the regular season.
Yeah, you guys agree out there? Let me know. Hey, also let me know. Do you like the 9 p.m. live Texans postgame shows? Is that better than last year, or did you like us going right after the game? We're trying to figure out what's best, because I want to get as many of you in here during game days as possible. I want to get some more comments. I want to hear more from our listeners on what you guys think, and our viewers. Let us know what you think on that. Now, one thing, in case you missed it, you got to go check out my interview a couple of days ago with ex-Astro Scipio Spinks. And I know you guys are going to look at it and like, who's Scipio Spinks? Why should I care? Whatever. If you're an Astros fan, you're a baseball fan, come on. This guy played with everybody with the Astros back then. He played with Larry Durker and Don Wilson and Cesar Cedeno and, just a ton of guys. And I'm going to throw a couple of other guys that you're going to hear during the conversation with this clip. This is one of my favorite stories from when I talked with Scipio earlier this week. Really good stuff. I mentioned also guys like Jimmy Wynn, Bob Watson, and Joe Morgan off the top of the show. Tons of young talent at that time. What do you remember about those guys?
One thing, Jimmy Wynn and Joe Morgan taught me not to gamble. When I first year in minor leagues, they were playing a game called Pluck. And it was just Jimmy and Joe in the room in spring training. And I was walking by and I looked in. They said, "Hey, you want to play?" I said, "Yeah." Well, after my mama gave me $50, they took 40 of it. And they said, "Next time you play with the big leaguers, big guy, bring big league money." They did give me my money back to me. So I learned never to gamble.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for you young guys in the clubhouse. That'll kill you. And let me just tell you, Clayton, the stories that he had, he got to meet and play catch with Satchel Paige. You got to go listen to that story. He might have been an all-star, really great pitcher until Johnny Bench ruined his career. That's a good story. He steals a mascot head. I mean, there's just a bunch of stuff in this interview that's worth listening to. He played with Bob Gibson and Lou Brock. He's got stories on those guys. Hall of Famers, Astros Hall of Famers as well. Like you heard me rattle off about 6 or 7 Astros Hall of Famers in just the last couple of minutes. So that's worth checking out for sure. Any last word on the Texans before we wrap things up, Clayton? What do you got?
It's been a long time coming. It's been dry out here, as much as I like my various Houston teams, the taste of football is it's in the air. It's coming back. So Houston fans, get ready. Listen, I don't want to make any guarantees. There's a team right down 45 that would mess up their season by proclaiming Super Bowl aspirations right now. But we know what it is. We know what we're shooting for. And I'm definitely looking forward to this possibly being finally the year where the Houston Texans make their first conference championship. While I will stop short of calling my shot on it, I definitely think you have the opportunity to have the best roster you've ever fielded, besides that 2011-2012 stretch. I'm excited.
Yeah, if my math is right, 46 years. 46 years it would be if they got into the conference championship, since they had last got into a conference championship. Right now, we're at about 45 and a half, roughly. So, yeah, let's see them do it this year. And, they need some luck. We talked about luck in the preseason. Now you got to have some of that luck in the regular season. Guys got to stay healthy. Nico, can we get a full year from you, big dog? Can Derek Stingley get 2 years in a row? Is it too much to ask for him to give you 2 full years as a college pro player? So those are some key things. But yeah, right now it looks really good. The depth is very good, I think, all around on this team at multiple positions. So this should be a fun one. Clayton, remind everybody where they can find you on social media for everybody out there watching and listening, and plug anything that you're working on.
Sure. And thanks again, Robert. It's always an honor being here, man. I will always praise what you do, your work ethic. You've been a model example for me in what I do. So I was able to get at 713 Sports Talk all over X, finally Instagram, YouTube. Of course, you saw down below Crawfish Boxes contributor. I also just recently was, I guess you could say, hired or brought on the fan sided on the NFL side of things to be a contributor there. So I'm going to be working on possibly that regionally. It's still some things logistically happening, but so that's pretty cool. Just staying active, just continuing to grow the portfolio. But that's pretty much it. And just, always willing to help out any way I can. And, like I said, it's always an honor to sit here next to you guys. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. Missing Tom this weekend. He's had a busy preseason, but I think he's going to be pretty available to us when the regular season rolls around. We're going to bring in Clayton occasionally, maybe somebody else. We'll mix it up a little bit this year. Don't forget, Tuesday, me and Tom look at the roster moves Tuesday night. Wednesday, I got a nice little Rockets show coming up for you Rockets fans. So can't wait for that one. And looking forward to all the stuff we got going on the next few weeks. This is so much fun. Texan season is here. Astros still going strong. So let's do this. Let's get some more championships in Houston. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.